Team God.
Really love where this football team is right now. The energy level, the enthusiasm, the ability to get out there and practice at a speed at what we're practicing at and getting after each other and still compete. It says a lot how much this football team has grown. I'm really excited about that. We've got some heat that was thrown on us a little bit today, which was good. We needed that. And man, you hear guys out there encouraging each other to keep pushing through. We purposely try to strain these guys in some tough situations. We had some situational awareness things today that we had to hit, and it was good. And by purpose, by design, we wanted to really tax these guys. And I'm excited about where we are moving forward and going into full pads tomorrow. Defensively, I think defensively right now we're playing at a speed in which we haven't since we've been here. These guys, I think that's a credit to some depth that we have in our D-line. I think it's very much evident that those guys are helping each other out. I think the back end have been extremely impressed with Bustin Brown and Cam Curl. These are two guys that have really caught our attention. And then obviously Joe Fouché is another one that's coming on. But those two guys have really stepped up. But I've been really pleased with the way our defense has looked. Offensively, we're not as consistent as we need to be, but we are much better. We are much better, and I want to credit a lot of that. Hopefully, it's the fact of we've got a pretty stout defensive line that's very disruptive, but we're going to continue to push on each other and get better. So, but I do like where we are going into full pads. With that, I'll open up.
Coach, a couple players are missing today. Noah Gatlin, Dalton Hyatt, Eric Gregory, Torian Carter, and Luke Jones.
Yeah, obviously Noah Gatlin's out. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm just reading down the list.
Torian Carter, shoulder, should be back in a couple of days. All those guys that were in yellow today should be back. Dalton Hyatt had a strain. I think it's either a high hamstring or something, but we anticipate him being back soon. But most of those guys they'll be back. Just precautionary.
Coach, I have a question about CJ. Guy's a senior. Maybe looking to him for some leadership, but I'm not sure if he's been working first team with the first couple days. What's going on with him and the whole tight end?
Well, I think we've got some competition in that room, and I think it's iron sharpens iron. And we got a standard that we set. We're going to play at, and when you do that, then you'll be running with a group you want to run with. If not, we'll let you run with other groups. And so that's kind of where we're at with CJ. And CJ is a senior, and CJ's got to decide if this is exactly what he wants to do. And our standard's not going to change. He's one of the best football players in the country. We're going to treat him that way. And so we'll see how he responds.
Coach, 4 days in, can you update us on the quarterback battle? No full pad, no scrimmaging yet. Where are we right now?
Yeah, I think we're right on schedule. I'm excited about watching all these guys compete. I think the scrimmage on Saturday will be big. We're going in we're doing a lot of good situational work out here. We're putting quarterbacks with different groups. So not do they just stay with one group, the first group, they may be working with the second group or the third group to see how they move those guys around. So I've been really pleased with watching these guys compete. I think the ball jumps out of their hands. I've been very, very impressed with all of them and their decision making. So much better than it was a year ago.
To build off that tight end question, Coach, is guys like Chase Carroll jumping out at you, guys that maybe weren't big names a year ago?
Yeah, Chase has completely transformed his body, and You know, he's so much more at home at that tight end position, and so I'm really pleased with Chase. I think Chase is going to add great value to that room this year.
Chad, what are you anticipating the first day in pads? How excited do you get for that? And then what are the key things you're going to be looking for, or the coaching staff's going to be looking for out of the scrimmage on Saturday?
Yeah, well, you know, we're not going to. First day of pads is tomorrow. I mean, you got to be smart about it. So we'll slowly build up. We were in a thud mode today, which means tomorrow that we'll be in a lot of teaching mode. So there won't be any live work tomorrow. There'll be a lot of teaching tomorrow, just getting used to those full pads. Thursday, on the other hand, will be a live day. Will be a lot of full tackling, getting them to the ground. And then Friday will be a day to where we'll pull back, kind of do an extended walkthrough, and then Saturday with the big scrimmage. And really what we want to see is consistency. We want to see what we've been seeing in practice. We want to see the mistakes that were made in practice not be made again on Saturday. And that's really what we're after, guys, making plays, protecting the football. I think defense created 3 turnovers again today, which is big. That's our goal. We got to protect football offensively.
Coach, with the running backs, with TJ Hammonds, how has he progressed here early in camp?
You know, TJ's just came to work, and that's what we've asked TJ to do. You know, he didn't go through spring. He's got a lot to come back out and earn. Nobody's going to give him anything, and so he's came out, he's gone to work, and he's just like.
Well, hello. Yes, it's been a long time to all our viewers and listeners. Welcome back to On the Hill Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, as we will be coming to you each and every day throughout the season from 1 to 2 p.m. We'll make a note that I believe we'll be having a 30-minute show once we get into the football season, as On the Hill will be making their way for a 30-minute Monday show each and every Monday, Tuesday through Friday. We'll be on in our entirety from 1 to 2 p.m. But still got a few things going on that I think people will be interested in. As I want to make an announcement. We have signed a deal to do Fayetteville High football and basketball. So if you're listening and would like to be a part of the sponsorship of that, we'll be airing on 106.1 FM KRRD. If you would like to be either a title sponsor or an in-game sponsor, you can do so by reaching us and call us at 479-601-7400, or you can hit us up on our Facebook page at On the Hill Sports Talk, and just let us know that you'd like to be a part of that. But that's one of the big things that's been going on since we've been out. And also, too, Arkansas football. It just gets started, and the SEC, as always, it just means more. And, Demetrius, we got a lot of topics that we're going to get off into in this football season. I want to start with the quarterback. And for those that are listening and would like to chime in with any comments, please do so on our Facebook or our YouTube stream. Which quarterback, and I want to bring in my co-host, producer, Demetrius Johnson, who will it be? Number 16 or number 17 or number 6? And what I mean by that, Nick Starkel, Ben Hicks. Fan base, who are you going with? And more so, Demetrius, who do you think is going to win this major battle with it? And there's a lot of competition, I might add.
I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Nick Starkel. I just think the experience and the in-game experience is just really going to play the winning factor for who starts. I think Ben Hicks does understand the offense, but I think understanding and executing in a live setting are two different things. And I think with Nick having live shots actually fired at him and understanding the type of speed that's going to be displayed in the SEC, I think it's going to be a quicker learning curve versus Ben. I think just transferring from SMU, no disrespect to him, I think just the game was slower. I think the athletes that he faced weren't as the top tier caliber that he's going to see in the SEC.
When you're the quarterback of Arkansas, in particular this year, by either Ben Hicks or Nick Starkel, and it could be KJ Jefferson, because that true freshman, if you hadn't noticed, I mean, he's had a pretty good camp. I still see some things that he has to continue to develop on, as will Coach Craddock and staff. They'll get all those little kinks worked out. But, what I'm saying with Nick Starkel, and we had a chance to be around the guys at Arkansas Player Media Day this past Saturday in the indoor practice facility, and you always talk about it, and I heard this a lot at the SEC Media Days a few weeks back. You have to win the room as the quarterback. You got to win that team. And I could tell the gravitational part those kids respond to Nick Starkel, and you can kind of tell even when you're out watching some periods that we're able to watch. We get the first 20 minutes. You can kind of tell the extra little bounce when Nick's under center that those players have, and that's not a bad thing because I don't think that there's any team bickering going on. This really, from my personal opinion, Demetrius, and it goes back to when we had a chance to talk to Devois, Scooter, and Sosa down in Hoover. The chemistry and the urgency I could see, and it just continues to be infectious. Even when you're out there on the football field, you see seniors, fourth-year juniors, helping out and teaching the younger guys the way. And I think that's how you build a program. That's how you build a culture. How do you feel? I mean, do you see a culture enhancement heading into year 2 with these guys and just the way they carry themselves both on and off the football field?
I do, but before I go into that question, I kind of want to take it back to that last conversation as far as the quarterbacks and KJ. During that media day that we had at the golf course, I got to sit down and talk with Coach Craddock about KJ and how he felt. And I think KJ is going to get a chance to step on the field his freshman year, but I really believe Chad's going to make the wise decision and really redshirt him. I really think that's going to be the case. Not to say KJ doesn't have the talent to play right now, but I think when you look at the longevity of the program and the forward thinking and the pieces that can still be added to the puzzle to make KJ have a more successful career and a forward projecting career for Arkansas, I think it's smart to redshirt him because, of course, we all know Ben has 1 year and Starkel has 2. And like I said, I really see Starkel being that number 1 guy. We got to talk to a lot of guys, and they've said the biggest difference is, Starkel's a lot more laid back. Right. And Ben is a little bit more aggressive and assertive with the team. Not to say that's a bad thing with either one, but I think when you got that laid back guy and that guy that has that swagger, it naturally comes to him. And I think that's the thing that Chad wants to see. He wants to know what's going to naturally fit and who guys are really going to rally behind when you're talking about scoring points. Because I can go back to comments from last year when Chad was saying, "Man, I'm going to play the quarterback that can put points on the board," because that's what quarterbacks are out there to do. They're out there to score points. Then to go forward to your comment about just guys changing and the mentality changing, I asked Chad, what's the difference? And, I think the biggest thing he said was time. You usually don't see good relationships at the beginning, unless you're talking boyfriend, girlfriend. But when you're talking football and coaches and new coaches coming in, you're always going to get that kind of that fight back from guys you've been to war with. And I'm making that reference to Bielema. And I think now that Chad has had a year to really sit and talk to these guys and guys understand what he accepts and doesn't accept, I think that's what allowed guys to know what they can, what he will and won't tolerate. And that's what allowed that family bond to kind of come into play.
And also too, I think I've covered this program for quite some time, and I really see the senior leadership. The way that Dijon, Devois, and Sosa carried themselves down in Hoover, Alabama, when they were in town for their media day obligations. You could tell. And then you talk to guys like Jarquez, Pac-Man, McClellan, Buster Brown, and they talk about the urgency in it. And I had a chance, as we have all had the opportunity a week ago, talk to Steve Caldwell, defensive end coach there at the University of Arkansas, and he said that he could see it in spring ball. But when you talk to most of these players, to a man, Demetrius and listeners, they say it started when they came off the football field versus the Missouri Tigers. You could tell the urgency. I mean, you look at Dalton Wagner, and I said it in the interview that if you want to go check out all our Arkansas Media Day player interviews, you can do so by checking us out on the Hill with Sports Talk on our Facebook page. Give us a look. Check out all our information as we're going to bring it to you each and every day. It's going to be real and uncut, to the point, with all our opinions. You can check that out. But to look at Dalton Wagner from his freshman year to now 3 years in the program, 2 being with Chad Morris, you can tell how his body has totally transformed, and that to me translates to buy-in. You look at a lot of these kids physically, the way they look. Devois Whaley, the best shape I've ever seen this young man look, goes back to what I used to see as junior and senior in high school on film with the quickness. You look at Rakeem Boyd. You look at Jordan Jones. Had a chance to interview him and player availability following day 3 of camp, and he looked physically better. the physical makeup of this football team in particular, you see it on the offensive and defensive lines more so than any position that they have on the football field. The way these guys move, their flexibility is something that I think is going to be real advantageous going forward, not only for this year, but for years to come. Because now, Chad also talked about learning the culture, learning the way you train. We had a chance to talk to Coach True last week at our Media Day golf tournament, and that's some of the things he talked about. The freshmen coming in and going through culture orientation on how to live, how they do things in the program, and I can see all that buy-in. And it starts with the seniors, and also too when you have the talented group of freshmen that Chad and the staff has brought in at the defensive line, at the offensive line, at the secondary, at wide receiver, at quarterback. If you're that older guy, then you realize, hey, these guys are on my heels, chomping at the bit to play, and this is your last year. You're going to focus, and I think that you're going to see a heightened urgency from this ball club, and I think it's going to start August 31st in Razorback Stadium.
I agree. I heard the thing about these seniors is these seniors were on teams that had that tasted glory. These seniors had a chance to play in the Texas Bowl, had a chance to play in that Liberty Bowl. So I think having experienced those times as a Razorback has really motivated those guys to say, hey, I need to get my team back to the promised land, or I need to get my team back to a bowl game. And I've not only heard this from the seniors, guys like was it Colton Jackson that we were talking about, how he kept speaking on him leaving a legacy for his family to be one of the best offensive linemen to ever come through here. So I think the difference between this senior group and any other senior group that I can think of from the Bielema to now, the difference is these guys were not only recruited highly coming out of high school, but they came from winning programs. They came from state championship teams, and I think that those championship qualities are really starting to take out. Because when you look at these guys, man, a lot of these seniors really do have a chance to really play at the next level. Right. When you talk about Sosa again, you talk about Cheyenne O'Grady. These are guys, you talk about Colton Jackson. These are guys that are really built to play in the SEC, and I think they understand the opportunity that's really before them. And I think they understand if I can do everything, that's the thing Chad Morris has been talking about this year. That was the motto, everything. If I can do everything that my coaches ask me to do, and I do it to my best of ability, and I give everything on the table, I have no choice but to go to that next level. And I think that's really where that buy-in has really excited these guys and ignited these guys to really give it their everything.
And also too, on to elaborate even more on Colton is I think and I think the offensive line too, man. I think they really took to heart a lot of the negative,
absolutely,
social media bashing. I mean, it was week to week. Coach made a point, to let us know, and that's something that I didn't realize is that he, the amount of injuries at this offensive line are very depleted. I mean, at some points, Demetrius, last year there were 8 offensive linemen conducting weekly preparation and trying to compete on Saturdays with defensive lines that were stacked, sometimes 10, 12, 14 deep. I mean, fresh bodies that were just coming off in waves, and you could tell as the season progressed on, the injuries and the lack of depth at the offensive line position eventually took its toll. And I thought, I go back to that Ole Miss game when it looked, when both your running backs, Devois and Rakeem, go down, Ty Story goes down, and that was a really beat up offensive line. I believe Yelter was playing with nicks and bruises, so was I believe Brian Wallace. I didn't never think that he was 100%. There was just a lot of injuries that offensive line had to go through, and it was a long season. But just sitting down with Colton and Dalton, you can kind of tell that this offensive line is out to prove a point, has a big-time chip on their shoulder. And, I'll probably go on record today as saying it would not shock me if Arkansas has 1,000-yard running back and one that gets really close to a possible 2,000-yard backs. I think the talent level and the maturity level with Chase Hayden, you have Rakeem, you have Devois Whaley. I think these guys are going to really be integral parts. TJ Hammers, we know, comes back, and TJ's going to have to work and earn his way back. And Chad stated that in today's press conference that all he's done is brought his lunch pail, put his hard hat on, and put his head down and went to work. And I think that's just what you're starting to see with this football team, the urgency and the talent level. I cannot stress enough the talent level during the time that Chad Morris and his staff have hit campus. has totally changed the culture and really helped enhance the urgency. 52 underclassmen that are redshirt freshmen, or third year sophomores. Which, I mean, that's big, Demetrius. When you think about 2 years from now, that, you know, those are going to be 52 upperclassmen, and there's going to be a lot of maturity. So I think it's really imperative that some of these younger guys like Trey Knox, Traylon Burks, maybe a Ricky Stromborg on the offensive line can come in and push for playing time. Bubba, Miller. I had a chance. You saw those defensive linemen. Those are what they look like in the SEC. This class as a whole, as far as size, speed, and talent, and living up to the hype, having those 14 four-star All-Americans, they are, to this point, what all the critics said that they would be.
And the greatest thing that I like about Chad is, you know, you were talking about how guys are going to have a chance to play. And the thing that I like about Chad in the situation that he's in is, to me, he's in a must-win season. I know a lot of people think, oh, he has another year. And I do think he has another year to coach, regardless if he went 0-12 this year. I think they still will give him another year. But to me, it's still a must-win season. And I say that from a culture standpoint, from a turning the rock kind of standpoint. And when you come in talking about, you know, he didn't say he was going to win the SEC, but coming back, making references to Arkansas being that new Clemson of the SEC and referencing winning championships with them. I think the difference is he doesn't care if you're a freshman. And I think that's what's going to elevate guys that are seniors. When you know your coach don't care about your classification, he's going to put whoever has put in the most work and whoever puts me in the best position. Because I heard Chief say this as well when I got to asking about the linebackers and, you know, trying to be unique and spicing up the defenses as far as scheme. He says, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to put the best guys that can play the way we want them to play out on the field. And I think that's where you're going to see guys go to the next level, because they're going to be put in a situation where, okay, if I'm a freshman, I have nothing to lose.
Right.
You know, most freshmen don't get to play a lot of the time anyway. So I think that's an added incentive for not only a freshman, but a senior to say a freshman took my spot. You know, that was a thing back in high school. You're not going to let no freshman come in and take your spot.
Maybe to come in and take a grown
No.
position. You don't want that.
So I think that, to me, that added level of if competition is really what's going to get those 5 to 6 or possibly 7 wins this year when you're talking about the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Well, we're going to take us a real quick break and finish this thing up with our last segment. If you want to chime in, you can hit us up today. No phone calls today. We'll get back to all that stuff and much more beginning tomorrow. But real quick, before we take this quick break, I want to make sure that our sponsors are giving love and give them a shout out. Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, it's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, Fayetteville Glass. I want to give a shout out for the sponsorship of SEC Media Days to all our sponsors, that it would not have been possible once again without our tremendous support from you all. But we're going to step away, get a real quick break. Oh yeah, also too, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. We can't forget about the guy that makes our studio and most of the places that he works on look beautiful. But we're going to step away and we have much more. It's the inaugural kickoff. It's OTH for the year 2019, and it's SEC football. We'll be back. Let's get it.
Big for these guys. It was right. The Catalan, I know you mentioned Jalen Catalan. They had an interception return for a touchdown yesterday. That he did outrun Chief. You saw the video. He did outrun Chief, but you know, again, what does he do? He comes in, they provide value, they provide great depth back there. They're listening, they're talking. I mean, Jalen's back there listening to Cam talk. He's listening to Joe. And then he gets in there and he gets his moment. You make a play, and that's what you do. Even those guys up front, Colin Clay out there today. I mean, he was getting it. You know, Dylan Rafferty, Brady Latham, these guys that we brought in here, they've all provided great value for this football program, both on the field and off the field. So I've been really pleased with these guys coming in.
Okay, Chad, I want to clarify. You said the defense got 3 turnovers today. Mm-hmm. Were those like team periods? Who got them?
No, I believe they were in team period. I don't know exactly who all got them because I'm on 2 different fields at the time. So.
Coach, with Catalan, is he working primarily at free or strong, or I know you said maybe some nickel stuff?
Yeah.
Welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, live here on KDSJ 479. Each and every day we come to you with all Arkansas Razorback and SEC and also to high school information here on OTH. But, we're going to wrap up today's segment, but I have a topic that I want to talk about, and it's at the position, and I want a lot of feedback, fans and viewers. Which position on the Arkansas football team, to you personally, is the biggest concern going into the 2019 year, and why? And secondly, what position do you feel will be the strength of the 2019 football season, and why? I'll go first. Question mark. Offensive line, just because I want to see if they've gotten a little quicker, more agile. I think the experience factor is going to be there. I think the big X factor will be how will Myron Cunningham step in at the tackle spot with Noah Gatling going down. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Is how will Ricky Stromborg or Myron Cunningham, how will they, be implemented? And Austin Capps, too, seems to be a guy that I think is just sitting there and could have a pretty important role on that offensive line. That's why I just think experience. Position of strength, defensive line. They've been through it. Sosa, TJ, John Marshall. Those guys have played a lot of football inside those trenches, been and put in a lot of different positions and scenarios. I really think that's going to be the strength of this football team. I think then when you add Gabe Richardson, I think Dorian Gerald may be mature enough to have the type of senior year that he's capable of having. I think Jamario Bell, so when you talk about that mixture of 6 guys on the defense at the defensive line or defensive end spot, those 6 guys have to play excellent football. We already know what you're going to get from Sosa. And I think Sosa has to be a guy that's going to have to, play 3 consecutive snaps. If he can play, if you can get 3 snaps each and every time, or at least 3 out of 4 plays from Sosa a game, each and every time out defensively, then I think your chances of being a very, very formidable defense, they are truly enhanced tremendously. Because I think if those guys on the defensive line are attracting 1 or 2 guys, and Scooter Harris, Demetrius, is going to have a tremendous senior year and possibly be up for maybe an outside shot at being the SEC Defensive Player of the Year.
I try to keep it short this week because I get to going on a tangent.
It's football season. It's what we do.
But I have to agree. I'll go offensive lineman because I'll say they dictate the success of every other position. Whether you're talking about quarterbacks throwing touchdowns, receivers making plays at the wide receiver position, running backs having that 2,000 or 1,000-yard season, everything goes around the offensive line. I think that's really as they go, we go. Because I think Ben Hicks and Starko can do a decent enough job as far as managing turnovers to touchdown ratio if given the time. And then on the defensive side, I'm gonna have to go defensive backs. That's a position I've been talking about all summer and really been hard on. And the reason why I say that is they're the least experienced. When you talk about players that have played in games,
a lot of talent, but a lot of talent, and a lot of athletic talent. But when you talk about overall career in games played amongst starters that are going to start at the defensive back, it's not a lot, and that's scary. That's scary in the SEC when you're talking about elite wide receivers in the SEC, and when you look around the conference, there's going to be some guys that have a veteran wide receiver core. Right. So I think that's the position to really watch when you're talking SEC. Once we get into SEC playing guys that where we're playing formidable teams that have those even athleticism across the board, then it goes down to football skills. I think, again, that's where we're going to lack on that back end of the defensive backs. See, being a former D-back, I'm kind of partial to that position. And, what I see is the talent that has to mature. Unfortunately, they're going to have to mature on the fly, like a Jalen Catalon, a Malik Chavis, Ladarius Bishop. Those guys are going to have to, even Greg and Devin are going to have to mature on the fly. I mean,
even
games.
Even Buster. When you look at Buster
as well.
Buster is going to have to mature. And you talk
Jarquez. I mean, the youth back there. I don't think they have a senior in the secondary.
Right. Exactly.
I don't believe. I think they're just.
Then you look at Cameron Curl. Cameron Curl is probably your veteran on the defensive back end.
Right.
And no disrespect to him, but I think he still has another year before he can be just that elite.
I think the secondary is going to be a secondary that's going to make a lot of plays and really, really, really put themselves in a position in years to come to be considered one of the elite secondaries in the back end as they grow and mature. Because I think Buster and Pac-Man, they have a chance to be a very formidable cornerback duo. And then you throw in, like I said, the likes of Jalen Catalon, Miles Mason, who I'm a big fan of. I think this kid is just oozing with talent at the free safety spot. I think he's going to be a great addition and backup to Cameron Curl. They'll split, snaps, and I think that's going to make that position a strength as the season progresses on. I look for Cameron and Mason to make a lot of plays. I look for Jalen and Boucher to really compete at that safety spot. And it just iron sharpening iron is what I see on this team, and just the talent level. When Buster can go against Trey Knox and Traylon Burks can battle Pac-Man, and then you can have Corlin Jackson battling Greg Brooks or Ladarius Bishop or Malik Chavis, and Jordan Jones can take on Devin Bush that's when you start to build depth, and that's when and it takes that in the SEC, Demetrius, 100%. You have to have depth, 3, 4, sometimes 5 deep at positions to be able to compete each and every Saturday for 4 really important quarters. SEC and football, like I said, it just means more. But we're going to continue to bring it at a high level as we're back, consistently back, ready to rock and roll for this athletic year of Razorback sports, both on the football field and men's and women's basketball, baseball, high school sports, and SEC. We're going to hit you with everything we can hit you with in the 2019 athletic year. I'm excited. Can't wait to get this thing started. Glad to be back on and back with you guys. We just had to take care of some things. We like to have a little vacation as well in the summertime, because once we come back from media day, things get a little bit hectic. But we signed up for this. I know I did, and I love it. But that's going to wrap it up today. We'll be back tomorrow with much, much more. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion is located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, and Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Once again, we will, on the Hill, be doing the Fayetteville High boys and girls basketball and starting the football season. Doing the Purple Dogs will air live on FM 106.1 KRRD. If you want to be an active sponsor, either a title sponsor or an in-game sponsor, you can do so by reaching us at 479-601-7400. Also, too, you can reach us on our Facebook Live page or our Facebook page. That's On the Hill Sports Talk. Just hit us up, message us, let us know you want to be a part, leave a contact number, and we definitely love to partner up and have you be a part of the OTH Purple Dog Broadcast family. But that's going to wrap it up. Till tomorrow, it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one. Let's get it.